Hello, everybody. Yeah, here to talk about a very specific thing, as I think the title shows, and failed to put in the title that this is also going to be a conversation with DOA to go over, kind of what it's like to deal with one of these things, uh, the ins and outs of these particular kinds of cases, perhaps. But yeah, so went to court, had everything planned to go ahead and plead my case before a judge, and a last minute deal was put on the table. And it was represented to me as the best possible option given what my near term future circumstances are going to be. And that deal was taken and accepted. The case was then dismissed as there was an agreement between the parties. And the result of that agreement is a mutual, which is just agreed upon. It's not, they have to stay away, a mutual stay away order for the petitioner, their residence in the premises of their business while employed. And it is not the result that I wanted. It is not what I had planned for. It is not what I had researched for and what I thought I was going to do. But given the circumstances, I'm coming around to the idea that, given the venue and a bunch of other elements to this, that it was the best possible option, given the circumstances, which is unfortunate. So that's the basic thrust of what this is and what the result was. And with that, I'm going to bring up DOA Defender of Ants to knock some ideas around. So, hey, how you doing? Thanks for doing
Hello,
this.
you're a hero.
Yeah,
I
that's
want you. I want you. I want you to know that.
that's a difficult one to see today, uh, or the day before. Yeah, that's tough to take.
No,
Um,
you are. Court is so scary, and I, tell the chat how you feel right now. The monkey that was on your back.
it's crazy. I mean, when you have some kind of situation that's going to infringe or restrict your freedoms, your freedom of movement. I mean, it's the real fact of that, and then it's if you internalize it even more, if you're a sensitive kind of person, which I find myself to be, and you have all sorts of questions about yourself and your self worth, and meeting up against, I don't know, this very serious and official looking thing, perhaps society judging you and being exposed, all of these things to some very harsh light. Yeah, it's all of that. And it can take over a fair amount of your thoughts the entire time that something like this is hanging over you.
Do you have you had trouble sleeping over the
Absolutely.
last couple months?
Absolutely. I mean, I already have trouble sleeping. I, have had some uh, degree of insomnia since I was an adolescent, and this drove me to pick up, work that would be where I'd be active late at night since I was. But this uh, made it way harder. So I'll usually be up into the wee hours, and this is pushing me around the clock, and to the point where, I'm sleeping in
Did you
kind of
freeze?
fits.
Did I freeze?
I think that maybe on your end, I'm not sure. It could be me streaming you. I'm seeing you kind of glitch out for a second. Are you on hotel Wi-Fi?
No, I'm on my Wi-Fi.
Wicked, wicked.
It should be good.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So yeah, it definitely made it worse until I was seeing the dawn uh, too much for the wrong reasons,
Well, are
and
are you looking at chat right now?
I haven't been.
You should look at chat right now.
Yeah, because I'm also terrible with that. So I see congratulations, and let's see. Yeah.
Everyone needs to do what's right for themselves and their situation in life. We are happy if you are happy. Congratulations, selfless. Rather being Mally says definitely a big relief. Uh,
Well, yeah, it's besides, the nature of this agreement, there isn't anything, on the record, and that was the pressure part of it, and that's was basically the reason to take it at all on the day. Now, if it, I think in retrospect, looking back, if if I knew or I was preparing to take some kind of agreement like this, I would have been organizing myself in another way. I would have been trying to go for, better terms on the deal. And that would have been more of my focus rather than the facts of the case and, making a particular argument, which was a fair amount of my focus. And it seemed like me and my lawyer had hammered out a strategy and, down to test questions and the whole deal. I was, ready to uh, go under questioning by Scientology lawyers. And I guess maybe, one of the bigger things that I was holding on to was having that moment, was, having my time to be able to say my piece and have it read into the record. And but yeah, I'm coming around to seeing the logic of this. It's just switching gears so fast was really difficult for me.
well, I'm kind of forceful with it.
Yeah.
uh, w- I'm like interviewing you on your own channel,
No, go
but
for it. No, it's good. Yeah.
I think it's important for people to understand the
Yeah, 'cause he needs
emotional.
it. Thank you.
We have to have people have to see the emotional side of court and the feelings that we have, and each one of us has a different way of handling court. What might be easier for one person might not be easy for anybody. When Danny was going into court, Danny was like, I'm not nervous. He wasn't nervous.
Yeah.
Like where I've been in court hundreds of times and I can't stop shaking. I can't sleep at night.
Yeah.
I'm a nervous wreck and I'm anxious. I'm sweating. And even with all that knowledge, I still am scared. And, and I'd like to ask you, like, what did you think after you did that? Because you weren't expecting to do a plea deal.
In no
And
way. Or well, not a plea, but yeah, an agreement between the parties.
yeah, an agreement.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And what people need to know is that court is like just really a bunch of contract law, and you're basically making contracts with people. And so you made a contract of some terms that were favorable to yourself and for your freedom and for your future too, because you never know. Texas is a very conservative state, and it's way different than what's going on in LA, where it's very left or very liberal.
Yeah, very
um,
conservative, very religious,
very
and
religious.
so it and the way these cases are generally decided in this particular court, my lawyer was not so keen on the chances, which was somewhere around a coin flip, and going into any of these propositions where the chances are like that, you've got to think more than twice.
Yeah, and what feelings did you have of what the community would think? Like realistically, what feelings did you have? What did you think the community would feel about you
Yeah,
doing
that
something like that?
that was kind of the one of the stickier bits of it, not knowing how any of this would be taken and just thinking about all of the myriad accusations levied at just about everybody that had a case and did fundraising from some quarter or other, and the debate about protesting tactics and methods, and all of this stuff would be brought up, and being so overwhelmed with the case itself and just dealing with that was like a hot stove that I was unwilling to touch. And I mean, I was probably going to stay silent and keep my thoughts to myself for quite a bit longer time.
I couldn't take it.
Yeah, if not for an intervention, honestly,
And
because
and
I have trouble with these kinds of things.
and you know, you two have been real accountable with your GoFundMe, um, and showing receipts. And there was some concern that the community might think that somehow because you took the plea deal, and it's something that I think we were kind of dealing with in Josiah's case too, about him taking a plea deal
Yeah,
and beating Scientology and making a win and making a name for it. That ability to be accountable to funds raised by the community was
yeah.
a big concern on how you were feeling. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, that. Well, because it's not what I wanted and what I thought I was doing at first, and coming around to the logic that this is actually, in very many cases, what you do engage a lawyer for is to get something like this and to negotiate whatever your best possible position is, and I think that was a difficult case for my lawyer to make, and I had a lot of questions. And honestly, I wanted some more concessions that we weren't able to get, and so we went back and forth a few times. Uh, and we are just, having been offered this thing and having no leverage, that it was what it was, pretty much.
And and
Uh,
what concessions were you kind of maybe aiming for? What would have been a
well,
little more ideal for you?
well, for me, since the issue was this person, having stated that they were afraid for their safety, in this affidavit that they swore out against me, which is a tissue of lies, that that their person and their domicile, and which would include their place of business when they are in fact there, but not the Church of Scientology Austin in general, because the that wasn't at issue in the affidavit. It's not part of protecting this person and their safety. So it was broader, and so I tried to limit that, and that was a no go.
And so I'm not sure if you've told people about what the future holds for you guys.
Oh, I'm not sure, how very specific we've been. Although we have said a few times, I think,
You
or
can
at
just
least,
say it. It's Portland.
yeah, we're going to Portland.
and
Yeah,
and that's happening pretty soon.
it's happening pretty ding darn soon. It's going to have to be early spring, and for work purposes, for somebody who's very newly and wonderfully gainfully employed. Yeah,
So
that
so
one.
the terms of this agreement
Woohoo!
is kind of location based.
It's location and person based. Yeah, indeed. So, it's not any other Scientology facility in Travis County, Austin, or Texas. It's not any other place or any other person, but the three entities is what I've agreed to have no contact with.
So so it kind of doesn't matter because you're leaving,
I
and
am leaving. Although,
essentially.
yeah, although I mean, it is it is a loss. It is giving something up for sure. It's giving up ground. They were able to exert pressure, and they were able to get a certain amount. And there's a whole lot of things in this entire episode that I can learn from because there are a fair amount of mistakes, and yeah, I hope to do better in the future with all of this. And I did a kind of protest that uh, took things pretty close up to the line, and but generally knowing where it was and having some amount of agreement from the local cops that indeed I did know where the line was. They're like, you seem to know what the hell you're doing because you're able to do all of this activity, and you're not. I tried to keep an 8 foot distance, even though I would harangue these folks for what I thought, what I still believe very much are their terrible crimes, uh, and do it in the context of a protest. So I could believed I was in my right, and the police also agreed to have these walking conversations with them from the place to the parking lot. And this is generally, you'll see these kinds of tactics when you're, doing like when unions do pressure campaigns at places of work. People, that if there's a parking lot adjacent or something, there'll be you'll have people trying to hand out information. You'll have people having a conversation. You'll try to get the people that are still inside or scabs to flip. And all of this, I think it is still relevant. But the day in question, or the days in question, it
Hey,
was.
hey, hey! You don't need to talk about the specifics of the
No,
case.
I'm not. I'm not really
Okay, okay,
specific. Not really
okay.
specifics. It was just so fraught, and uh, it was it had if for the people who had followed, there had been this like escalatory pattern that a lot of these orgs will follow when they see somebody that's really active, like us, like Pearl, like yourself, and they'll try to engage you with all of these different methods to stress you out over time, wear you down. A lot of people will just leave or just get you to make a mistake. And I mean, we had received multiple assaults from multiple members of Scientology. They had done the street tough thing like they do in LA. Crazy street people that they'll throw $50 to do some crazy ass thing to scare you. The armed guards, we had that, and then of course the fake police and fire calls, and produced in me like, a generally alarmed state, and, being more kind of, fearful on the street. And, uh, for me, one of the things is just like being able to manage those feelings so that I can use the kind of adrenaline that you'll get from being slightly scared to keep you kind of just walking and on the street and active, but not so much that you're like acting through your emotions, uh, you know, and because it's exactly what they're trying to do. It, it, it's and you might not see it, especially like when you spend a lot of time out there and instance after instance of our lives kind of being threatened there, and uh, that they can get you on the smallest thing that you say that can be taken out of turn. So I'm going to be far more cautious, I
Well,
believe,
and that's good.
and
That's what experience that comes with experience
yes,
and going through the process, knowing you hit the farthest point to where you hit that point where there's restraining orders, and so there's that fine line there.
yeah,
And you talking about the emotions, a lot of people make mistakes when I'm in the process of protesting, or what some people might call bull baiting, is trying to get someone into their emotional state to act on those emotions.
yeah,
And but there is a point that, like, for me personally, when my heart starts beating and I become in that zone, like basketball players, they say they're on fire
hmm
when
hmm
they just start hitting it,
oh yeah,
and they're working on that emotion, and that fear turns into a focus of what they're doing.
yeah,
And so that emotion and fear can be harvested for a hyper focus, just like when you're in a car accident, and when you at impact everything slows down. That is your body reacting to the surroundings, and slowing everything down to make the decisions based on
yeah,
what you need to do.
yep.
And so I think that's some of what you feel when you're protesting, or that's what I would think that it might be.
Yeah, at its best, keeping you on the tightrope. Uh, and yeah, but yeah, certain things will get me just about every time, and certainly seeing my fellow travelers harmed or wronged, and is one of them. So when safety and basic decency are are trodden over, and like that fine gentleman that we found on Fountain Ave that day with the curved blade who spat upon Pearl
Yeah,
Snappy.
that that was crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
and well, followed directly on by was it Wendell?
yes,
That was like later the same day or something.
that was a crazy day, man. I just remember you coming over and be like, "My phone's gone," and that panic on your face,
Yep.
and then that, like, panic, like I instantly had panic, and that was that was uh and so I think there's some um we've had issues with others with not being clear on what the terms are.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to ask you specifically, how long is that term? I know, because you're moving, it's only a month, but how long does that is that in effect till it's done? Just month, like how many months?
So it's no number of months because it's all the months. So it's all the months to stay away from this person in their domicile for all of the time. And then for their place of business for the entire time that they are employed there
Oh, wow. That's forever?
forever.
Wow. I didn't know it was forever.
Yeah, it's pretty steep. It's pretty steep. So it's one of the things that I'm not too fond of here. I mean, and that's why I mean, I have no problem because I have no interest in the petitioner at all. For whatever they
It,
may think, I have
hold
no
on.
interest in this person,
Is it a
and
billion years?
and a billion years.
Damn.
So,
Well, they're not going to be around that long, so
well, they're not.
we're gonna be the force to stop that. I'll have to go to Austin.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, for the person, and then I may return in front of the org if they are no longer employed there. That part of it will cease as long as as soon as they're not under their thrall or on target one.
and term that the specific thing that happened, it's unseated.
Yeah,
That is the correct verbiage?
I think so. I think that's what I heard in the room. It is basically the thing is dismissed. It is no longer a case. Like, this number is not a number in the system. This was not decided one way. This was erased as a legal issue in Travis County Family Court.
Yeah, so it's basically a mutual stay away.
Yep.
Okay, and what are the terms if you break it?
Well, what happens is that basically it goes all the way back to the beginning, where they'll they'll go and get an ex parte protective order again.
Okay.
So
Oh, so
s-
that was an ex parte protective order.
correct.
You didn't even have an opportunity to you didn't actually they had the judgment. So an ex parte means that only one party is there,
Correct.
and so they made a judgment and basically restrained you from going to the org, and then you asked for an opportunity to be heard. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so
And that was accepted. And then we were going to have this issue heard out. It was basically the ex parte order was issued in lieu of a hearing to be able to decide whether or not there would be a an actual RO and the length of which
okay, and
that would be given. That was the shot.
all right, and then so if the ex parte if you fail and it goes back into the ex parte, how long was that ex parte in effect for?
I think it was 90-day.
Oh, 90 days?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's fine. Because if you it just goes back into the ex parte and then it's 90 days.
Yeah, it basically it'll go back to the beginning of this entire process. That's what this is. So we have like a handshake, signed little dealio,
It's a contract.
and if I break this, then they'll go to a judge and they'll try to start the process over, and we'll decide the matter again or not.
Oh man, that's not forever.
Yeah,
So
it's not.
that's actually
It's a handshake for forever.
well, and but the consequences of breaking it is not jail time or a fine. Is that
Nothing.
correct?
Correct.
Okay. So
It is, yeah,
perfect.
nothing like that is hanging over my head at
Perfect.
this moment. Nothing at all like that.
Yeah. No, that's actually
Yeah,
perfect.
that's
That's
that.
actually I'm like you threw me off with like a billion-year contract, man.
I mean, that's the
I mean, I would
language.
expect nothing less from Scientology, but
But at least they can get the feeling of the forever. The language, it says there in black and white, and there's my signature. So, I mean, that's as binding as they need it to be, unfortunately, for whatever fundraising efforts, whatever hay they try to make out of this, which would, we shattered and suppressed this, that kind of shit.
I say that's a success story. That's a win.
Thanks for saying that. I'm starting to come around to this idea. Uh, it yeah, it's just the kind of whipsaw thing of it where yeah, I think I'm going up. I think I'm going up against their lawyer. And yeah, every time we went in there, there were three of these hearings scheduled, and they screwed up the scheduling twice. And each time the group that they bring along got larger and they were better dressed. And by the end, they started with one lawyer. Now they ended with three. And seemingly, I took up a lot of resources with this one. They had three lawyers billing on this that weren't like my lawyer. They were expensive. They're expensive lawyers. And I mean, they don't care, obviously. Like, if they don't have the cash on hand, they'll borrow against their assets, ad infinitum, to be able to do these things. But it seemed like this one was important. They were going to at least make a show of force to both intimidate me and to nail this one down. But they were freaking serious.
And was there any relation to Kendrick Moxen?
Yes. The first lawyer called the first time he called my lawyer. So the first meeting of the minds of the two parties, legal representation. This guy introduced himself as working for Mr. Moxen and asked my lawyer if he had ever heard of Kendrick Moxen. Hey, you know who that is? Like, basically, do you know I'm kind of a big deal around here? And yeah, he said he didn't, and he figured out. But yeah, the first guy he was working for him, and then it was two people seemingly were, well, no, one of them had some loose association with the church, perhaps, and the other one seemed like a hired gun, but I could be wrong. Either way, it went up to three, and they look like, yeah, very spendy. So,
So all of them were in court yesterday. All three of them.
All three of them were there last time. It seemed like at least two of them were here this time. And everybody else in there, like Sunday best, and like a dozen people from the church. So, and like all the leadership. And
Wait, say that again.
like about a dozen people from the church and seemingly the leadership.
We're at the courthouse.
And every time I was there, they were there.
Really?
Yeah. And
Wow.
every time Pearl went to the courthouse, some member, if not multiple members of church leadership, were there showing their face, almost certainly to intimidate.
Oh yeah, no, that's intimidating.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we were dealing with in LA, but we were the intimidating force because there was nobody there for them.
Yeah.
And the judge recognized that. In Danny's case, she specifically said it in the ruling that this is a that the community has put an interest in this based on the amount of people that were there. So it's actually the reverse. That was the reverse in Austin. I was not aware of that.
Yeah. Yeah. They were definitely putting out their best and seemingly adding pieces on the board every time. It was more and more and more. And this time was the most. And, everybody had new suits and haircuts. Um, yeah.
And
But
what do you think the worst thing about the whole situation has been since it started?
it's the loss of time and peace of mind, uh, I think, is the most expensive part of it now. In retrospect, the amount of time that I've spent thinking about this and having it haunt me, and how that's affected my emotional state and my ability to, I don't know, be a better friend in person to the people around me, is the most expensive bit.
And what do you think the? I know this is the short game of it because in a year or two, you're going to have a totally different outlook on this. And
Probably.
I know that all my court experiences going through it, I would never want to. I would never want to put it on anybody else.
Mm.
But a year or two later, it like has defined who I am and how I think. And so I think that the long game of this is something you're not going to appreciate for a year or two. And because I think you're going to appreciate your time not having that over your burdening you,
Yeah.
and just to be able to take that deep breath and just be like, life is I appreciate it not having that burden.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and
Certainly.
and and what do you think right now in the short term? What do you think was the best thing that came out of this?
Best thing that came out of this, let's see. Best thing that came out of this, I think, is like this right here, getting this chance to actually say any of this, because I haven't been able to talk about any of this, even this close. Like, I haven't gone over the facts of the case, but like even this much, or any of my feelings, just kind of been under some kind of a cloud, and maybe people have wondered why, and some people have known perhaps. But being able to clear the air on some of this, seeing clearly that I have any support, Leslie here, understanding this person enough to have this intervention, and to be sensitive and freaking proactive enough. What is this?
Oh, is that receipts for the lawyer?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
There it
Full
is.
accountability? Are you sure?
There it is. It was pretty straight business, that we were given a number. We like looked at the bill, and the bottom number on that thing, that's the one that we went for. And so pretty straight business. This guy didn't ask for a lot, and also, as we mentioned a few times, we had run through that retainer, and he was just pissed off at the lack of professional ethics that this organization was engaging in, and that he saw how they were eliciting similar behavior from officers of the court, and that really pissed him off, that he saw people in the city's attorney's office acting a fool, hiding the ball, all sorts of stuff that will come out, I think, after Pearl's case. But it raised his ire to the point where he said, I'm going to finish whatever needs to be finished for the rest of these cases for free. And has been doing that, I think, like 2 months? A month and a half at least. So, yeah.
So it was about 2,500, about 2,600, 2,575 for you, and 2,000 for her.
Yeah.
So under 5,000.
Yeah.
And how much did you guys raise in the Gifts and Go, or the GoFundMe?
What do we do?
We met the goal, which was just the total plus the sales tax. We didn't even ask to cover the fees. And
Yeah.
we met exactly that.
Yeah, because there were
Beautiful.
fees. Yeah, just the number and the tax.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, I thank you for being accountable to how much your lawyer was and to the community for
No,
donating. I don't think anyone would have problem donating a second time if it came up again. And yeah, I appreciate
hopefully,
that.
hopefully not. But yeah, I mean,
Well,
I don't know. That seemed pretty easy, right? Like that. Way to go. That
So
didn't seem like anything.
go to your
I'm-
state's website. Go to your state's website. Say that you are low income. Go to
yeah.
the low income referral site. They will give you a whole set of options. Then they'll give you the ones that are most likely to tailor your budget to their specialties. And then you email them. And then they email you back. And you talk. And then they're like, oh, so you don't have any money and we got some time? And I'm like, yeah, seems about right. And then they were like, we can make this work. End of story.
You don't have to have a doctorate to figure that out.
but it helps.
No? Just the internet.
Well, thank you for being accountable to the community for them. I don't think anyone was even really questioning it, but
Yeah.
I think we're um, we could laugh about that. I
Yeah.
got another question. I feel like I'm like interviewing you, but I just
No, it's great. This is a great way to spool this out because I mean, not that I'm reluctant to do this now, but certainly, like I said, it's not where I was heading. So,
well, this was not easy to get to. It was just so chat knows that we're going to be totally honest here. I tried calling Pearl yesterday because I was like, "What's going on?" And then I called Laura, and Laura's like, "Why haven't they told anybody what's going on?" I'm so like, "What's going on?" And then I called and I got your phone number from because I didn't have your phone number because Laura always contacts you, and so Pearl gave me your phone number, and then I messaged you, and then or I called you, and then I messaged you, and then nothing, and then
yeah.
Pearl was finally like, just call me, and he's gonna take the phone call. He's gonna be standing next to me. So we kind of forced ourselves upon you because I think you had a lot of.
Not have done that.
Yeah, I'm not throwing her. I'm not snitching, Pearl. But it was for the better, and because Selfless was concerned that the community might not be okay with you taking this agreement,
Yeah.
and that like instantly I was like, that's we were dealing with that with Josiah and taking the plea deal, and your freedom and your ability to move around without that burden is until you've gone through that, you don't know that feeling, and it's a horrible feeling.
It was
And it's
pretty
something
raw.
that no, it's the American justice system is very slow, and it could be done in a coin drop. My father said when I was going to court 10 years ago that every time we go into court, it's like Russian roulette. We don't know what's going to happen. And so I think
Totally.
everyone needs to know that these are normal feelings, and that what you were feeling were valid feelings. And my question to you is, what I want to say one thing, but I want to say three things. What three things would you offer people who are going through restraining orders, fighting Scientology? What advice would you give them?
Well, let's see. One of the first things I think you let me know when this first happened was get your story, get the facts, get the timeline, whatever you have, get it all down so that you have that solid in this moment. If you hadn't done that already, if you weren't planning to do that, if like there wasn't like some kind of event, like if you know that there's going to be some case on the day something happened, make a bunch of contemporaneous notes, do whatever you can to record your state of mind and your impressions of what happened then. And that's true of any kind of important occurrence that might have legal ramifications. Take a bunch of contemporaneous notes. But after the fact, when I got this, it was going back through the footage, seeing like what happened so that I could, in my own words, formulate what was going to be my story, my side of this story, and my defense. And having that first just kind of anchors you and first it's something to work on. And I think you said that too, like giving yourself something to do right off the bat is really good, because just like the state that I was in yesterday, having all the thoughts at once racing around and not being able to catch up with really any of them and make them useful for any length of time, having some direction, somewhere to put all of that energy to have it be productive is orienting. Second is make sure, if you're going to have a legal representative, be wary of what you're buying. Try to be choosy and discerning, and make sure you have somebody that understands what you're doing, what you're trying to do. It's the same thing with therapists. These people are meant to be working for you. Audition them. If you don't have a lot of choices, you might have to go with not the most optimal choice, but frickin' shop around, see what's out there. And third is the part that I'm awful with. Keep in communication with people. As a lifelong depressive, when I have these overwhelming thoughts, I completely shut down. I don't want to experience anything more. And that includes socialization. And in really extreme bits, it goes to everything. Don't want to experience anything more. So getting past that overwhelming feeling and not being able to add anything to it, to be able to reach out, for me, is really, really hard. Some people don't have this much difficulty. Some people have more difficulty. But keeping open lines of communication and having a system of support is absolutely essential. And it's something that, because of my difficulty in socialization, I kind of robbed myself of. And it made this road more difficult than it needed to be. And certainly Leslie picked up a lot of that freaking slack and tried her best to listen to this mad person as much as possible. Yeah. But certainly.
No, I did.
Yeah, no, did. No, not tried. No, do or do not. There is no try. You did. So, yeah. Try to, as much as possible, keep some kind of system of support, because you're going to need it.
Well, and the first thing a lawyer tells you in any of these cases is to shut your mouth.
No, yeah.
And so
a good one.
a good one will tell you to shut your mouth, and that is very good advice. But at the same time, it could be difficult to do when you're trying to garnish support for what the cause is, and for court support.
Yeah.
So it's I see that in a lot of different cases, is that's always the constant battle of how to get support without speaking about it. And sometimes you have to use a third party almost to speak on your behalf.
In a way.
Not in terms of stalking somebody or harassing, but just to get the word out about the details of.
But even that can be sensitive,
Yep.
if they can say that you're speaking through an agent, and that you're directing this person, you can get in double dutch for that. So even that, and another bit was of why I was reluctant to speak on this case is, there's a very fierce ideological debate going on in the community about methods and tactics, and some, a lot of absolutist kind of language being thrown around about what all of this is. And I believed, because of where I stood in this argument, that I wouldn't fare very well, because I caught this kind of a case, and it's like, hey, I told you so, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And uh, what like wasn't yeah was uncomfortable with facing that kind of thing, because generally I find the conversation along those lines to be not really steeped in the history of social justice, resistance, and protest, and that these are the tried and true, time worn methods of being able to get positive results for change. The all of the different methods, from putting up flyers, the signs, but also slogans, and some of them very pointed, and maybe jokes, like the history of political cartoons. Political cartoons at the founding of the nation were bawdy, dirty, pointed things. Uh, I mean, just the regular political discourse. I mean, what did Alexander Hamilton get done for? He was slandering people in the most awful freaking ways. So this is kind of the history of a lot of how these things are done, and along with that, and I always tried to put this idea forward, is that in all of these movements there have been these very stark differences in how to move forward, and they emerge especially when the actions of a movement become more consequential. When you start to see some kind of a result, that it is working and we're getting something done here, then it seems like, okay, this is way more important and we can't fuck this up. So it has to be this way or it has to be that way. And you get these kinds of ideological fights. And this is, you know, like the civil rights movement, the anti-war movement of the Vietnam era, the women's movement in the 1970s, the atomic freaking thing, the AIDS action movement, the like Occupy and like anti-globalist movements of the late 90s and Antifa. They all have schisms and fractures. They all break down along these lines. And when they become this ideologically strident, and people are saying like these declarative statements, it is this way and no other way, is when you have these these rifts and this amount of division that we see all over our movement right now, and people not able to meet in the middle. And what I find really unfortunate is that I don't see a whole lot of this conversation informed by anything of history that I can recognize. With just seeing what it is in the moment, and a lot of people speaking who have never done one day of this on the street, and certainly not without a camera, or for money. So, so it makes it seem to me, and I think to other people who get the light shone on them like this, and other people in the movement who have already left, believe that because of how people are taken up in these kinds of arguments and take sides without really knowing what's going on, that they won't get a fair shake, and that it's not worth it, and they're always going to be painted in some unfair light, and they leave. And I don't know, I was certainly about to do that about 50 times and couldn't, because because I'm still in this like I was the first day I stepped on the street, for the same reasons. I'm not doing exactly the same thing, but all of the same things that I believe then, I believe now about what the fuck we're facing, and I believe it more, and I've seen more about how absolutely brutal and terrible this child trafficking cult is, and believe that I have more to do here.
Yeah, well, in the end, it doesn't matter how many restraining orders they file or how many criminal cases are brought against any of us, because in the end, we're standing up for the children. We're standing up for Serge and Lara, Liz, all of them that have gone through unknown unknown abuse that some of us can't even begin to imagine.
Yeah.
And we have a responsibility to stand up for them, no matter what anyone says. When the laws become unjust, the outlaws become the heroes.
Totally.
And
Yeah,
and so
a true patriot ignores unjust laws.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's what makes an activist an activist.
It's true.
And so no matter how many, like, I know that I had a restraining order that was filed against me that was false, and that I was standing up against an SA type of group that was harboring an SA. And no matter how many people, no matter how many trolls say that, oh, I'm a stalker or anything, I know at the core I was there to stand up for something that was wrong. And that is my driving force. And people could say it doesn't matter. I don't care if whatever the consequences of that, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I'd like to answer this question from Windy City.
Oh, wow.
He said, I was under the impression that TRO type sentences expired after 2 years unless renewed. Forever sounds like the wrong duration for any result. And that does sound like that. But here's the thing. Some TROs can be anywhere from a year to 5 years in some jurisdictions. But when you make a private agreement, just like in Scientology, like the Jane Does are facing right now with the NDAs in the Gavin Potter versus Scientology and the other Jane Doe cases, they have signed billion-year contracts.
Yep.
And those contracts are by agreement with consenting adults. And so when you make a contract with another person, the terms could be whatever terms you want. That's what's kind of, each plea deal can be unique. And so if you're offered some type of plea deal, just realize there's all sorts of different terms that you could agree to or offer concessions to, like, okay, well, you want this, well, I want this, this, and this. And
yeah. It's a private agreement between two parties that we hammered out. So we could have papered up anything.
Yeah,
right there.
You could have said that.
I could have said that I had to only see him and deliver him 15 lollipops every second Tuesday. You know, so
exactly. That's a good question, and I think people, again, back to all of it. I was telling Pearl and Selfless earlier that on the phone that it is all contract law in the end.
Yo.
And when you kind of understand that, it makes it easier to kind of in court. It's all about a meeting of the minds, and the only time the judge is supposed to interact is when the two parties cannot come to terms on what the facts are.
Well, especially you're saying civil matters, so like you're saying, in most of those cases, you're trying to prove damages. Damages are financial damages, so yeah, it's like you're it's two different business entities of some kind, right? Whether personal or not, and you're arguing over spillage or breakage or some such.
Yeah. And I was having a conversation with my friend earlier. There's a bunch of protests coming up in DC here. And they were talking about some of the different groups. There's like I think there's like 15 different permits on the 20th for the inauguration. And
should be crazy.
Some of the DC, some of the group some of the people in the DC group were talking about some of the other groups and how they don't like protesting with the other groups because they get very very precise and rulesy with what is allowed and not allowed. They become the judges of the protests. And so when you were talking about people, making judgments about what you can and can't do, and so they're like, well, we're not even going to be with them. We're going to do our own protests. We're not going to, and so that's something to be aware of too, that, each protest group, what one might deem as acceptable, others don't.
Totally.
Like for me,
I'm all for that. You've got to, like, if you have a particular style or a strategy that works with your message to, like, your target audience, that's freaking great. Some kung fu style work better against others. That's all well and good. And keeping your stuff tight in those kinds of organizations, yeah, I'm all for, like, being a member of one of those teams. I've done that. It's just when any one of them says that for all intents and purposes, like, this is for, this can't be done. And especially when you're talking about, like, being, if you like, raising your voice and being insulting are two very strong tactics and methods of protest. And I just think it seems to me like that comes from a lack of experience.
Here's another good question in chat. I'd like to answer it. In contract law, can you sign away rights given to you in government law? And yes, you can. Even in a restraining order case, I was talking about this earlier too with them about cases being quasi judicial.
Yeah.
So a restraining order is family law. Family court is quasi judicial. You don't have what restricts the government is because they're constitutors. The Constitution restricts the government. It doesn't really restrict private persons. It restricts only the government.
Yeah.
And so in the government, you have a right to freedom of, or you have a right to a jury by trial. And
you can sign that away, though, can't you?
You could sign that away. You could sign away your freedom of speech. Josiah, they said that Josiah can't talk about Scientology anymore.
Yeah,
he's got freedom of speech, and if he agreed to that, yes, he can sign it away. Now, could that be appealed later on that it infringed on your constitutional right? I'd say it could be appealed. Would you be able to win? Well, it depends on, it depends. But so be very careful what agreements or contracts you enter into.
Yeah, because they can be extra legal and they can be binding.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff that ends up on writers for concerts, I'll tell you. All sorts. And you might think, why would you put that in a contract?
Do you want to take any specific questions from chat?
Oh, well, generally, yeah, as ever, I haven't been...
Some amazing comments and questions.
I haven't been looking. Do you want to star some?
I can't. I don't have access to that.
Oh, dang it.
I could read them to you.
Yes, please.
Question. Carrie01 says, has Kelly been shaking you down for donations for a GoFundMe to buy subs?
No. I don't know what that's about.
I don't either.
I understand you can, or I mean, it's not allowed on the platform, but that people do buy.
We don't negotiate with sub-terrorists.
Subtastic terrorism.
Sub-terrorists, okay.
Yeah, instead of scotastic, it's subtastic, and we can't. Not anymore. Not after January the 20th. Talk about, signing your rights away. Wow, everybody.
I'm wearing the rainbow beanie at on the 20th, man. So
Yeah.
it should be interesting. I've been getting a lot of love for the beanie.
We're going to have the most sauced up Secretary
We're
of
gonna be
Defense
so
ever.
interested
I don't know if
disorder
anybody
sheet.
caught that
You can hide
confirmation
to-
hearing.
to
That
scroll
was
through stuff fertility, please.
ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah, good one. I don't know the specifics on that. I do understand you can buy them. Uh I don't know why you would though.
Just be engaging and yeah,
Or
be
like
engaging.
accept your lot,
Yeah.
you know.
Don't fake it.
I have my beanie
Don't
that I
cork your
bought
bat.
in my sophomore year of high school in 1994. Vintage.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, check your head was real fresh, you know, all that stuff. Yeah. Right on. Let's see.
How do you buy subs? You buy them in lots. You could buy 100, 200, 500, 1,000. It's a third party.
Yeah. Seems like it. So yeah, I don't know.
333 is a magic number.
It sure is. What, like De La Soul's song? Sure is. Yeah, you can't make yeah, interesting, Windy City Thetan Watch. IMO, if somebody is involved in court, they should only be concerned with their best interests and not how the quote unquote community might perceive the strategy. You are at risk, not the community. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably a good idea, and certainly after the fact, I was giving way too much credence to thoughts about, what the community would think, and yeah, I think that's a pretty good statement.
And I'm going to ask you a question. So
Yeah.
how is this going to affect your protesting style?
Oh,
What do you think you're going to do different moving
well,
forward?
see, uh, mm, I think there's going to be a refinement of the top note of this thing, really. But I was flying okay up until then. But generally, I think being better about my state of mind, stepping onto the field and being really good about that I'm not off kilter. I'm not like carrying like stress from other days from like a recent day. So, going out there day after day and like having like extreme event after extreme event after extreme event and not taking a break and not seeing where that line is. So this being my first year doing this kind of thing, not like there's a special thing about being confronted by Scientologists and exactly how infuriating they are, how arrogant they are, and how much damage they're doing. Until you see it right in front of your face and you see them drag kids into one of these places, you really don't. You're not prepared for how you might react. It's a lot. So I think I put myself in a position where I wasn't scrubbing off the stress enough so that I was going on without the full regalia of freaking emotional resilience to what is really can be really soul damaging, especially doing the Austin org on the weekends and seeing how many kids they would literally in a cart in there, and seeing these people at the beginning of their journey of all of this soul crushing degradation that we've seen our friends end up here on the other end of, seeing these people and knowing probably like especially the kids of these kind of whales and rollers, they're not getting out. They're there. Is a lot. And that's that. I mean, that's a lot of what I thought was especially important about the Austin org is how, and it's true of Chicago as well, is the proximity to a large population of young minds that are very impressionable. And I think the people who are out there are still doing that, are still keeping more people away from that, or at least being some kind of a warning for the kids that are going to wash up at University of Texas at Austin, like have like freshmanitis, like not make some friends, looking for some connection and meaning, and end up in the clutches of freaking Scientology. Which is what they're fishing for. That's why L. Ron Hubbard parked that org right next to that absolutely massive college campus.
They did it in Chicago too.
Yeah, right next door to the University of Columbia. Freaking disgusting. And I mean, the Chicago crew knows. Those people befriended us immediately because they saw what danger they were in, and they already were reporting that Scientology was all up in the dorm trying to check them out.
Yeah, and that's actually pretty good tactics of them putting it there.
Yeah.
They're young and impressionable. It's fresh meat.
Yeah.
They're just away from their parents.
For the first time, with a little bit of change, maybe?
Yeah.
You know, somebody else's money, maybe?
Yeah, and they're good-looking guys, good-looking girls, and it's very deceitful, but it's also like I go to all these Native American sites, and there's always a mission right next to the Native American sites.
Man.
And it's to harvest and to create a rapport, basically by just being there by proximity.
Yep.
And so it's a very good tactic. Here's a question from David. Now that you've been through court and have seen Sciento tactics up close, do you see the trolls attempting to mimic the same tactics?
Yes. Pretty much. And some of the trolls, it's you can just get caught up in somebody else's narrative and become a troll and not even know that's what you're doing. I see a lot of people jumping on to tidbits of things that sound hot, that, feel kind of salacious, and running 10 miles with it before they check that any of it's true. And that's just true of the internet a lot. And it seems to be true of the trolls in this community. But yeah, basically, Scientology will try to, they'll find your ruin, but they'll try to find the thing that will actually knock you off your balance. And we saw it from people on the street would try to basically live troll us in the same way that a troll might do it in the chat. Like the dude that tried to intimidate you while you were sitting.
Oh my God, the NOI guy?
Yeah, that was a.
What, your man can't handle you? You want me to handle you? No, sir. No.
Yeah, he was playing both sides of that coin. It was either I can't handle it or I want it so bad and he's going to do better. And it was all the different sexual things.
And either way, I'm just like, you know what? I can have a cold beer at the end of the street and my dog's at home, so y'all need to figure it out. Just kidding.
But yeah, so it's the same kind of stuff. Which is basically schoolyard bullshit. That, I don't know, if I'm in my right mind and I'm not feeling real delicate about anything, it's way easier to recognize that kind of activity is exactly just that, and that the chat can be really informative. It can give you information that you need on the street. It can be, the people in the chat can be your eyes and ears. And it also can be just like whatever you'll find in the bathroom stall in a high school.
Mhm.
So it might be better
It's true.
regarded as something about on that level.
It's a double-sided sword. It
Yeah.
could be used for really good, or it could become very toxic, or just even offer misleading advice.
Really misleading
Yeah,
advice. Oh,
yeah.
God. You had to learn that early on quick. Because I showed up at the Chicago org, I had like 50 subs and I had this crazy audience and it was like an insano time. Like, the cops were out in force. They had a barricade. They were completely bought off doing whatever Scientology wanted. And I'm like, holy smokes, this is like a setup of like a bad like anti-war protest, but there's none of us out here and we're not organized with like, we're fucked a little bit. I was very worried for our condition out there. And I had all these people in there like pulling me this way and that way. And also I had like the worst mods in the business. So, who are also giving me really bad advice, really, really bad advice about all sorts of things. And yeah, that's another bit of the learning is, learning to be able to sift the chat and not like react too terribly so that like to people just trying to get a reaction out of you, be able to like see that for what it is, and to screen your mods.
Yeah. Oh, mod, don't get me going on that. I mean, but it's because those mods could really lead you in a wrong direction and quickly.
Yeah.
And and this is an art to stream and protest at the same time, especially with a community.
It's pretty new.
It's
So we're
it's
kind of
new.
figuring out what the hell this is as it's
Yeah.
going.
Yep. And when you get into it, and people don't understand how, because it could be used it could be really good, but like when the love bombing and stuff can really like mess with your head, and allow people in who shouldn't be in, and
Oh my God.
it's a very precise tactic, and it's hard to recognize at first because you're not used to it, and
Well,
you could go for
also,
a wild ride.
it gets you in a very basic, primal part of ourselves as well, which is the sense of belonging, acceptance, belonging to the pack. Since we're a pack animal and survival as a pack animal means acceptance into the pack, or you're not going to have access to food or breeding stock, and you're going to be more vulnerable to predators and all of the other things. And so I think a lot of people react to acceptance and rejection that deeply. And so, yeah, love bombing works on that level because and makes you feel different. Say, like when you're being kind of what, like taken into a cult, like being beaten into a gang, love instead of fists. But yeah, it'll give you a feeling like you've never felt ever before of acceptance, of community, of all these things. And especially if, you've had a really rough time coming up and you never had that ever in your life with anyone. Like, well, like any hard drug, it will produce an effect in your brain so far more profound than anything has ever done that in your life. Like, a million chocolate bars or something all at once. And yeah, you'll become completely enthralled to it. Many people will enslave themselves to this thing that gives them this feeling, and they believe that's the only place that they can get it. All cult leaders try to kind of do a setup like this. Make themselves or the cult your heroine, and they're the dealer. And oh, you better not go away. You're going to have all the withdrawals. You're not going to be able to handle yourself outside of it. That too. So you won't leave, or if you do, you're probably going to come running back. Right? You'll have a relapse. You almost all of them do. So I don't mean to laugh at addiction or anything like this. I laugh because of the absurdity of the pain of the world. I think that's all that I can do. I'm not trying to make light of this. I laugh at it. I have just some experience with it, and that's it.
Well, I am going to go and crash out here.
Right
but
on, man.
I thank you for standing up in Austin and in Chicago and LA and
Briefly in Denver
briefly in Denver and
for a few
and
weeks.
and you are a hero, and I don't care, people have different definitions of heroes, but you earned your stripes. I've said this
Thanks.
before, but when you go to court, you become an activist because you have put on your freedom and you've gone through those trials and tribulations. And I have the utmost respect for you. And this was a huge win. I don't care what anybody says.
Thank you.
And I look forward to how you move and pivot from this point, and enjoy taking a deep breath. And your advice of taking time in between those big events, I think is some advice that I need to take myself. So I appreciate hearing that from you, and thank you the opportunity for sharing this moment with you.
Hey, absolutely. Thanks to you and Leslie for facilitating this happening at all. Definitely has made it a few days closer for me being able to take that deep breath, like you're saying. This is definitely part of shedding all of that skin. Thank you.
It'll be a couple days, and then it'll sit in, and it'll just be like, just laying in bed and being like, it's over.
Right.
And you get to go into court. Are you going to be in court for Leslie?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
It's so much funner. It's so much funner to be in court when it's not for you.
Oh, well, yeah, I like to be rooting there, and I think that's going to be a killer day. Yeah. They slapped me with this thing.
I have to testify, y'all. Y'all wish you could be there. Okay?
That's right.
And be cross-examined.
The doctor will be in the
idiots.
house. Yeah, that's what I was hoping to do, but you're gonna get to do it. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be freaking
And I'm
awesome.
gonna be court pearl, not
I've seen it. I got to see it. It's great. It's pretty great.
Are you Pearl?
Work, so you know.
Pearl, are you trying to get people to come to court? Any court support?
I'm a serious human.
Oh, DOA's asking,
Don't threaten me with good
are you trying to get people to come to court? Are you trying to get people to come to court? No?
Yeah, so why
Yes.
not?
Okay, yes, why not?
Can you just tell everybody why everyone's here when the court date is? If you don't mind.
It is January 27th.
27th of January here in Austin. Yes.
Like the dinky traffic court, because that's all they could get against me, because I never broke a law.
Yeah, the Travis County Municipal out off and away in this industrial zone.
So if anyone could make it there, make sure you guys make it there, because court support is everything. So I heard Dodge is coming, so hopefully others can come and show some support.
Yeah, this should be a solid day. Should be a very good day. And afterwards, we can uncork this crazy cask of discovery that has been collected. Who knows what we're going to find in there? And some of it includes moments that I was around for. Much of it is not. And is so amazing.
Hey, but also
Is
Alan Mark in his full LA Sheriff's Department blues.
you seriously in Travis County Court, dressed as an LA sheriff?
This is the idiot who swore out complaints against me and also called and said I had a gun.
So 14 years in the LA Sheriff's Department. I remember Street saying, "Look, you're on the force for like way less." He was dressing down some other cop. You've been on the force for 7 years and they haven't given you a promotion. You must be terrible at your job. You must they must hate you over there. And this guy, 14 years LA sheriff, and yeah, no, I think they may not have liked him. But yeah, no wonder he ended up here.
Roadkill was his boss.
Yeah, if that's right. That was the nice label after we found out it was his call sign in the Air Force, right?
Yeah, yes.
It was his call sign in the Air Force, Roadkill. So we've that it's easy enough. That was the name of the main armed guard out in front of the Scientology org. The first day that I found it, that individual was out there with a gun.
Crazy.
Opening the doors. He was the doorman. We seemingly that was his job, but his other job was misrepresenting the law to us and saying that he had all of these special police powers and that he was a policeman. That he was an EMT and a firefighter. He wasn't really a policeman.
Love you, Ben.
Love you too. So with that meandering freaking thing, crash
Good
out.
job.
Thank you so very much.
You have a great night. Much love to you, Pearl. You guys have a good one.
He says, much love to you, Pearl.
Right back at ya.
Right on.
Peace. Later, chat. Have a good night.
Bye-bye. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out with this weirdo and for all your support here. Let's see. I see there have been some super duper chats.
Not only am I gonna make him go through these super chats right now, but like I will make him go through all of these chats because y'all, I cried at least 3 times. I mean, I cut onions 3 times. Your support, the fact that you're all still in here.
Yeah, thank you.
DOA and Laura, Heather, Liz, Summer, Haggis, Rika, all the folks that have to deal with us on the daily. I don't have words, but like we couldn't have done this without all of you and just reinforcing that Oliver made the right choice. That everything is gonna be okay means the world to us. Means the world to me. Because I see how hard it's been on him. And there's only so much I can do to convince him. So I appreciate all 400 of y'all.
Thanks.
Being here and supporting. I owe y'all.
It takes a village sometimes.
I'll pay it back. I'm good for it.
All right. So without further ado, MD Media, congratulations, friend. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for being a constant source of support to so many of us, and being fearless and fearlessly kind out there on the street. It's wonderful. Liz Ferris, thank you so very much for being here and for being a very constant and close friend throughout all of this. Certainly, thank you very much. Laura, I'm so grateful for you. You've been here from the start. You are supported by us all anytime. Just ask. Yeah, indeed. That's
Told you.
it's true. And she did tell me. Yeah, it's the hardest thing for me to see it sometimes, and it's just a very bad habit where I put myself out on this ice floe and I can't see the shore for a bit until, I don't know, something myself circumstance or a friend, offers me some kind of a helping hand, and then I can see, or I have a moment of clarity and I can see my way out of the hole. Thank you for that. And Casillas, 20 memberships. All right. So, maybe some different people got those amazing memberships from the amazing Ann Casillas, who is ever present. This movement and the way that we're doing it and this online activism, it takes all y'all, and although some of all y'all, like Anne, is not only so supportive in everywhere, but not neutral, but solid and fair minded almost all the time that I see commentary from you. And thank you very much for that. It's much needed. It makes this community better. You make this community better. Thank you. To me. Sunday, thank you very much. $10. Thank you for being here. Yeah, nice name. And CB, what up? For peace of mind and relief fund. All right, I'll take that, because I've like removed pieces of my mind while thinking about this and having all of the thoughts, and yeah, and having right after this, really all of the thoughts of kind of arrows pointing at me and feeling all of it negatively, really, and going into like a depressive kind of tailspin. So this has been really helpful and a good first step after this event and this episode that was really painful. But with a little help from my friends, I'm ripping this Band-Aid off right here and starting my journey to reclaiming myself and my whatever peace of mind, and building a life with Leslie and going on a wonderful adventure to the West Coast.
Like in a month and a half.
Yeah, which is, I really, but really, actually. So
It's gonna be great.
it's gonna be great. I've done a lot of moving, and I'll be good to be done after this one. I'll be good to be in one place for a little while that I can call home base, and I think we can do this. These wonder pups that you've seen sometimes on camera are coming along. Of course, they're going to be leaders of this pack, and
Portland, yes.
this is. I think this decision is in very much in support of all of that, and for whatever hemming and hawing it's going to be, doing the most good that we could get out of that moment. And it's taken up until now, and it's going to take some more time for some more acceptance for me to accept it even that much. But I'm trying, and with all of your help and my own daring do, I'll get the heck over this, and you'll be seeing more better. Unfortunately for now, a little channel announcement. There's been a kibosh, a no-go on the drumming. As
Well, kind of. I am going to clarify that with Leslie.
yeah, so we've had, at least for the time being, an end run has been done on the owner of this domicile. And so for all of you looking for a drumming live, that's unfortunately on pause right now. And I mean, I would love to go out there right now. Oh man, I wanted to play so much after this case. Good God. I could have really cleansed my soul. Looking forward to more of that if we can clear the air, but it might be till Portland, but maybe not. We'll see what it is. But look for more content coming from here. I look forward to be doing some more desky stuff with Serge and some more topics, hopefully some more political stuff, because look, we're going to be going into a political season where it's going to be coming so fast, and that's part of the design, is to overwhelm the population with messaging that you can't possibly keep up with all of it, and most of it's going to be garbage with like a whole lot of stuff snuck through in the dead of night. So I'm going to be trying to go after some of those topics. Oh, here let's see, just us nattering. Take Pearl out on the town now that you have some relief. Justice Nattering, that sounds like a damn good idea. Thank you for reminding me that I can be very good and take this opportunity to be very good and have a good time. That's very life affirming, Justice Nattering. And Kirby's Mum Minion shirt. What, guys? I mean, the copying of the bits and then the mutation on the end of, I mean, I love it. I love the mixed metaphor here. Yes. Thank you for becoming a member, and thank you for the scatological name there. So, yeah. Yes, Pearlfest 2.0 Portland. I mean, yeah, wherever it is that we find ourselves, we're probably there. It's probably going to be there. You know, it's just, who knows? Things are changing like the sands, but I mean, by our design, that's where we will be. But you know, hopefully, we're not all moving very, very quickly. Yes. Now we get now the drums. Yeah, air drums. I can feel it. Can you feel it? Can you feel me? All right. Yeah. So, yeah, that's going to be fun. I'm going to do all that stuff. Yeah, there's been a lot of weight that I've been carrying along with this. I received this order within days of arriving here with all of my stuff having moved to Austin. So, like, since I've moved to this town, this has been over me. And now it's done. Scientology up north. Thank you very much. Happy this is over for you now. Me too. And it's going to be some processing. This is definitely helpful. Thank you for your generosity and all of your just stellar, exemplary work. Definitely a model to be followed and learned from. Thank you. Definitely appreciate that. Definitely appreciate all the styles, and always did. Because they're all effective for somebody and in some context. Some, you know, you could argue some are better in different contexts, but the entire negation of, you know, whole swaths in it, and just, you know, didn't really seem like a thing that could really be defended or bear any scrutiny. Yeah. Y'all are amazing. This has been wonderful. Thank you to y'all. Thanks to DOA for being a great interrogator and extracting the information from this somewhat reluctant person. You know, it's good debriefing. Maybe that's the other term that you might use in an interrogation. And very many, all the millions of thanks to Leslie, who's been my primary support through all of this, has seen me at my worst and all the things that y'all don't get to see. In my moments of doubt where I can't see the next step, or that, you know, or that I'm worth anything, or that anything's worth anything, and has pulled me out of those over and over again. And I'm here doing this now for it. Thank you. I love you. I love you.
I love you too. I'm your little tow truck, just pulling you out of the bullshit. winch.
Well, yeah, yeah, the winch on the Land Rover, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna get me out of the quicksand again. So yeah, as many of you maybe with conditions like this, you get habituated to this. It's like dislocating your shoulder. It's just you've done it so many times, it'll just pop out easy. Yeah, hopefully I don't need any corrective surgery. So with that weird observation, I'm going to say good night to y'all. A last thank you, and that I'll see you soon. Uh, treat yourselves well. Be good. Thanks again.